These two were both teen queens in the Disney Channel world, but offset, they were in a very dramatic feud over a guy. Keep watching to find out more. Before we dive in and discuss, go ahead and click subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you'll never miss out on our future videos. Let's get to it.
You've got 1 hour. Good luck, honey.
Number 10. Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment. It's hard to imagine that these two best friends on Hannah Montana are not so close in real life. But the reality is, these two often butted heads when the cameras weren't rolling. It took a long time before they were actually able to get along. In Miley's 2009 book, Miles to Go, she talks about the history between the two, saying she instantly bonded with Mitchell Musso and often felt like she was in competition with Emily Osment, since Emily was actually a working actress before Hannah Montana, whereas the show was one of Miley's first gigs. The two, however, learned to get along over time and still appear to be friends today. Emily even posted a picture of the three friends on the Hannah Montana 10-year anniversary captioned "Big, Big Love." Number 9. Ashley Tisdale and Lucas Grabeel. These two were inseparable on screen in the High School Musical films, but off-screen, things were a lot less peachy than they seemed. It seemed like these two were actually friends when Ashley posted a video of her doing a music jam session with her former co-star, and people were so happy to see the two of them smiling together. But the interview before the performance actually uncovered some juicy tidbits that the two of them actually couldn't stand each other in the first movie.
We hated each other.
Something about that sister-brother duo on screen just didn't translate to off-screen. After the first movie wrapped, though, there was a shift, and the two of them have been good friends ever since. In an interview afterwards, too, Ashley said she thinks Lucas has the best voice out of the whole cast.
He's just the best singer out of all of us.
Aww. Number 8. Miley Cyrus and Nick Jonas. Almost immediately after Nick Jonas and Miley Cyrus met, they started dating, and fans loved these two together. He seemed to be the pinnacle of a good boyfriend until Demi Lovato let it slip at one point that Nick was juggling dating both Miley and Selena Gomez at the same time. Miley and Nick eventually broke up, and Miley was so heartbroken and angry that she dyed her hair black and wrote the song 7 Things About Him, saying he's playing games and insecure. Even though they spent the next few years avoiding each other, they're clearly okay now and have actually both been married to other people at some point in between. Number 7. Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez. Of course, we have to talk about these two. Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez, of course, are Disney favorites and go way, way back, but surprisingly enough, it didn't start with Disney. They were both child stars on Barney and Friends, and as they have grown up and appeared in more shows and movies together, primarily through the Disney Channel, let's just say their relationship has definitely had its ups and downs. While they seem to be the best of friends and even collaborated outside of their Disney endeavors on a couple awesome vlogs back in 2008, but in 2010, Demi Lovato apparently told a fan that she should ask Taylor Swift how Selena Gomez was doing. Why didn't Demi know herself? Add on top of that another interview where Demi said friends don't let friends or family be mean to you, and we're thinking she meant Selena since the two of them were clearly not on buddy-buddy terms anymore. Shortly after, Demi was checked into rehab, and during that dark time, Selena was one of the only friends who actually reached out, which seemed to patch things up between them. In 2014, though, things seemed to be rocky again when Demi randomly unfollowed Selena on Twitter and Instagram. While being interviewed, Demi just said that sometimes people grow apart.
People change and people grow apart.
In 2015, though, the two started following each other again, and they seem to be friends again for the long haul. Fast forward to the most recent update from Us Weekly on October 1st, 2020, which reports that Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato are reportedly not close anymore. There's apparently no animosity or beef between them, but they're just not friends at this point. Considering their track record, though, we imagine this may change again quite soon. What do you think? Do you think this is the end of their friendship, or do you think they'll manage to patch things up again? Definitely let us know in the comments. Number 6. Hilary Duff and Lindsay Lohan. Let's take it way back to the early 2000s, back when Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff were both super successful within the Disney Channel world, but they were definitely not friends. Aaron Carter was featured on an episode of Lizzie McGuire, and shortly after, Hilary and Aaron started dating. But in an interview, Aaron admitted that he got a little bored in the relationship and started talking to Lindsay Lohan behind Hilary Duff's back. He ended up leaving Hilary Duff for Lindsay Lohan, which only lasted a couple months, and then Hilary forgave him for cheating and took him back. But there was still beef between these two leading ladies, and Lohan badmouthed Hilary Duff for a few years following the drama, even on SNL, which Hilary was unamused by. Well, almost 9 years after the initial drama, the two apparently met up and talked it out, so at least there's that. Number 5, Laura Marano and Ross Lynch. The two stars of Austin and Ally seemed to have a super cute relationship on screen. Fans everywhere were super invested in these two since they made such a great couple. Even off-screen, the two described themselves as a married couple since that's how they acted with each other. But sadly for fans and viewers, the two never actually dated in real life because they were too professional to do so. At some point, Disney must have told them to spin the story to make it seem like they fought like married couples though, because the fighting just seemed way too real. So it's possible that these two just didn't like each other very much. They apparently bickered and rolled their eyes at each other, which some people might call flirting. But there's evidence to prove otherwise. During the crossover episode with Jessie, they were apparently fighting so much behind the scenes that the cast of Jessie had to break up their fight. So apparently they just don't like each other, even though they still insist that they're friends. Number 4, Rowan Blanchard and Uriah Shelton. These two were on Girl Meets World, a show that multiple generations were excited about, especially those who remember watching Boy Meets World back in the 90s. But these two couldn't stand each other. Rowan, who played Riley, used her platform to spread the word about equal rights and feminism. So when Uriah Shelton liked a post that said the world doesn't need feminism, Blanchard's fans absolutely couldn't tolerate it. They took to social media commenting and asking Rowan how she felt about Uriah and the recent discovery of his views. Rowan simply responded, "I don't have time for him and his stupidity, LOL." But it's said that Uriah has repeatedly expressed his anti-feminist views and publicly said that Rowan doesn't like him. Number 3, Bella Thorne and Zendaya. Bella Thorne is pretty outspoken of never really wanting to have been a Disney girl since she felt like the channel pressured her to be someone she actually wasn't. On top of that, she was pressured to compete against Zendaya during her time on Shake It Up, which caused some friction between the two co-stars, especially during the first season of the show. Bella even said that the two wanted to love each other and be friends, but they were constantly told to compete against each other. And because they were pitted against each other, this made it very difficult for the two of them to even like each other, let alone love each other. In the middle of season 2, though, the girls sat down and had a huge heart-to-heart that involved a whole lot of crying. But this was clearly a good thing, since the girls were able to set aside their differences and become the best of friends. Number 2, Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez. Well, like we mentioned earlier, there was definitely some drama between these two over Nick Jonas. After Miley and Nick's 2-year relationship, he almost immediately started dating Selena Gomez. The two used to be friends before that, but clearly that put a rut in things. And ever since then, the two have been feuding. Miley made fun of a video that Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez had made together and even had a cardboard cutout of Selena on stage at one of her performances, clearly dissing her. Miley also posted a picture on her Instagram copying almost exactly the same pose as Selena in one of her posts, asking her followers whether being provocative would get her more followers. If you ask Selena, she would say there's no beef, but clearly something isn't quite right. Number 1, Debbie Ryan and Sky Jackson. It seemed like these two were going to be friends for life based on their initial reaction to each other on the set of Jessie, but that quickly changed. Sky Jackson created a second Twitter account exposing the intense bullying she suffered at the hands of Debbie Ryan and proceeded to unfollow her on Twitter. Fans brought the post to Debbie's attention, and Debbie wrote a long Tumblr post about the situation, saying that if she were a preteen, she too would be insecure about the lead on the show she's on. She continued by saying that she tried to make the set of Jessie as fun as possible for everyone, but that bitterness is not easily fixed with gifts.
How can you be bored? It's showbiz!
She finished the post with, "Living the dream is not a job, it's an attitude." Well, clearly the post was meant for Sky because Debbie unfollowed her right after posting it.
That's a world I would not want to live in.
Whew, there you have it. 10 Disney Channel stars who didn't get along once the cameras stopped rolling. Tell us, what do you think of the feuds we mentioned here, and do you agree with them? And are there other Disney stars you know of who are beefing as well? Leave us a comment below. As usual, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell as we bring you more juicy info, gossip, and speculation about the shows and stars you know and love. Until next time!